They call it music. 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 They call it. 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 They call it.
Boom! Yeah, boy, we back here with another pure, raw, uncut, unadulterated episode of thing called Double Rock, boy. We continuing here with Genesis, boy. Wait, look here. It's so good, we got to drop another series with them. Huh? Another episode with them, boys. Huh? But today we get the... We can say who it is, but today, yours truly top class in the building.
Paparazzi.
And...
Theo Cooper, chairman of the Genesis Junkanoo organization.
Boss, we here to give you the latest and the greatest in the Genesis organization, boss. We here mean, clean, mean. You know what I mean? We here to talk Genesis business, my boy, huh? Live with the chairman, boy. Papa.
Yeah, I'll go.
You know how the thing go, boy. We got to float us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's me or you?
Boy, it's all us, boy.
Okay,
we
all
coming
right.
in full force today, boy.
All right.
Ain't pump faking, no. Mr. Chairman, right? I know in the last episode you alluded to how you working with past chairmans and what's not in the organization. But how does it feel to be the chairman of Genesis?
How does it feel to be the chairman of Genesis? It feels like another day in the life of a Warhawk. You know, our leaders, no matter title or not, they work hard and effortlessly. I'm honored to be the chairman of the organization to take it to the next level, but I work with previous leaders and the founders of the organization to ensure that we stay grounded. So I'm just another tool there to take us to the next step.
Right? Powerful words. Next tool to take us to the next step. And what a lot of people fail to understand that when you here for a season,
That's it.
you know what I mean? And you gotta understand that you here for a season. Some people don't want to move out their season.
No.
When your season end, you know it's time to go.
Back
Some
to the
people they
side.
ain't trying to leave when the season end. They trying to judgment overripen the season.
Listen, some people have told me that Theo, Coops, Theo or Coops, so they either or either.
But yeah.
You probably got to do 2 terms. For what?
What? And you
If
got
I-
somebody else.
Right, if I
Momentum.
got to do two terms, that means I ain't doing what I was supposed to do. What I come here to do.
Powerful.
You see, we come here to bring someone up, to take over from where we was. Because it's a labor of love.
Yep.
Ain't none of us making no millions of dollars off this thing. So the only way it works is if we pass on the baton to somebody else, and they can fall,
Yeah.
But you got to beat it and say, hey, dust yourself off, it'll be okay. Because no one is perfect.
No.
You see, and each of us can learn from the one that came before us. And that is why I strive to work with those that came before me. Work with the founders and persons that was there to really groom the leaders of tomorrow. So I am looking for my successor, and it ain't even been a month yet.
I love the fact that I wouldn't say there's a term limit. There's a 3-year, posted for 3 years.
Right.
Okay, I love the fact that gives everybody opportunity, a chance or opportunity to lead the organization. Can you give us the names of your previous chairmen?
So Sean Otterly was the first chairman,
Okay.
and Corey Taylor was the second chairman.
So during this transition from your, what was your role prior to being chairman?
I I think when we started Genesis, I was on the marketing team. From there, I went to the design team as an assistant director for many years. And most recently, last season, I became the costume design director. And now I'm the chairman.
So you were not, so let me try to get this. You're not, so you weren't the deputy chairman. Do you have a deputy chairman?
We have a deputy chairman.
You do have a deputy. You were not the deputy chairman
No,
last year?
never was a deputy chairman.
Okay.
And most of our deputy chairmen have not been, they've just been chosen per that election season.
Okay, so it's not like a apprentice situation where you'll be the chairman next sitting or the
No,
next
no,
coming.
no. It doesn't automatically
Roll over.
roll over.
Okay. Okay.
So you may be a deputy chairman and you may decide you want to step aside,
Yeah.
or you may groom someone else, you know.
So what's,
Many are called, chosen, or few. That was,
we all know
We
that.
know that.
That was
we,
a-
all, we all know that.
We know that.
that was something I always said to my good brother Air when we started the group.
Boy, and I was gonna get to that. I was gonna get to that. I see one of the
Speaking
founding members.
Yeah,
I
I saw a very inspirational post from Air.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
I guess it was an announcement saying that he's
Welcome back.
Yeah. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, man, and I like that. And like he said in the post, he apologized.
Right.
A lot of people, scared to apologize.
Don't know
and
how
don't
to
know how to
apologize.
apologize. You know what I
Right.
mean?
That's the word.
They have no remorse. You know what I mean? But I like that, man. You can see it's heartfelt.
Yes.
See, when you call yourself a family, you a family true and true.
Yeah.
True to good, the bad, and the ugly.
ugly.
Sometimes some of us have to step away and go back home.
Yeah.
It's as simple as
That's
that.
like any other family.
Like any other
Sometimes
family.
you move with your house,
That's
your
it.
mommy house, and then
That's
you come
it.
back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's all.
It's called the prodigal son.
Indeed, we welcome you back.
Back with open arms. You know?
And that's how it is in Genesis.
Right?
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be. I like Genesis. I like Genesis for one reason. I can be honest with you, I like Genesis with the girls.
The fun spies. You like the pies.
Yeah.
Hey, as a single individual, I just like the girls.
You like the pies.
I like the girls, right? My accent.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that your group, I wouldn't say it's predominantly females, but you have more females than the average legacy groups, we call them, or the average other groups. Has that created a challenge for your group, or has that been an asset or a challenge?
I would say it's a bit of both,
Okay.
especially when you're talking about the front line.
Yeah.
When the front line is required to have X amount of off the shoulder, step downs, lead costumes, whatnot.
No.
There's only so much things these women can do.
Yeah.
Now you could put
Boy,
them in.
anyway.
Yeah.
Superwoman.
You get the super women, right? You get some women that will not be afraid to take on a big costume.
Yeah.
As we know, look at Dee Dee. One of Dee Dee's biggest spaces is a woman.
Yeah.
And they don't win costume. So women are definitely showing that they could do more than what we expect them to do.
Yep,
If they
yep.
going beyond choreograph. We've had women carry off the shoulders for some time now.
Yeah.
Now we get women in the back line. They beating bass drum.
Yeah.
They beating with tum-tum, they've been beating tum-tum and ringing bells. You look at Linda Christina, she was ringing bells from
Yeah.
King Hatshepsut's armor.
Yeah.
So women have been there, but not in the
That
forefront.
young lady who be hitting that bass drum for that particular group, oh, I love that girl. Oh my goodness, oh, it just like brings joy to see,
Yeah. Why not?
And it's not the fact that she's a female; it's the fact that she's doing something and that she's enjoying it. That's what I love to see.
Right.
More so than it's just a female beating a bass drum. But back to your point.
Right. So in terms of the challenges, yes, there's been a challenge because, we still need men to do some roles in Junkanoo to carry us to the road. And so we've sort of tried to work around it as best as we can to strategically place our women in different costume categories as well as, the few men, y'all got to carry these step down and lead costume. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So we sort of we choose themes and design our themes around what we have in our organization.
Strength.
Yeah. Yep. You got to use
What
what's
many may not
available.
Right. So what many may not know is because we have an online platform where you can sign up it allows women to get in Junkanoo much easier than they could before. So, one time ago,
Yep.
I don't know if they called us this, but we were sort of like the bucket list group. So we was getting a lot of members of persons that just wanted to rush
Yeah.
and didn't know how to sign up, how to get involved. When you're talking about women 40 to 50 years old, signing up to rush for the first time in their lives.
Nice.
Because we make it possible.
And that's what I love about that opportunity, how you register and how you join your organization.
Right.
As opposed to, let's come by practice.
Practice, yeah.
No.
Everybody into that?
No.
No. But then when you say just come to practice, you don't have a proper record. You don't know the person's real name is.
You
only
don't
them
know
by
nothing
the,
about them.
You don't know the age.
And
you
in
don't know if they have.
Junkanoo, you know everybody by the nickname.
You don't know if they have siblings. You don't know if they have a child need. You don't know
Yeah,
nothing
no,
about.
no.
You know nothing about the individuals in your group.
But I'll tell you this. When I started in One Love Soldiers, they wasn't online. But we had a registration form to join and become a part of the group. So there was online.
And even that is unheard of at the time.
Right, and that was, 2000, 2002, 2003 or so? And so you had the paper registration and doers.
Viewers.
Yeah, in One Love Soldiers, we had doers.
Not doers,
and-
doers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's where I sort of learned a lot of the things you see us able to do today. Arthur Gibson knows it was paving the way for us today to do a lot of these things we're doing in Genesis.
No. Right.
Speaking of Otter, remember, I think one of our first interviews ever was with Otter.
With Otter Gibson.
Sitting right there in the back of the shop.
Yep.
Do you still see him on a regular basis?
Yeah, man. In fact, I just watched that interview again a couple days ago because we was talking about, this conversation about the JCNP and what it was stood for and what it was meant to be versus what it is today.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable. The stuff he's saying is still relevant today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Now that interview was just, man, we got the camera here. Let's just
Let's roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seize the opportunity. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But what initiatives you have going on right now in your group in terms of development?
Okay, so we got several going on. First and foremost, we got mental health awareness month coming up,
Okay.
running from May to June, where we'll have a fun run walkathon on June 21st. So what we're going to be doing is, as soon as alumni is finished, we'll start our practices. And each one of our practices, we'll have a little box where we collect funds to help with keeping mental health awareness a discussion to talk about. So
Okay.
we'll denote to an organization.
Yeah.
But we're going to wear green in aid of it. And we're going to start an online campaign, because everybody knows we used to fly this group.
Yeah.
We're going to have an aggressive online campaign where we talk about the different segments. I don't know if anyone saw our segment. We had a documentary recently showing our Boxing Day presentation. We're going to see some online videos and people talking about, depression and stuff like that. And so it's going to be something different because we feel in Genesis there's a need to address the issues we're having in our country.
Yeah.
The suicides and just the challenges we're having as individuals. And the fact that not Genesis, but Junkanoo can be that outlet to express yourself.
Yeah.
Outside from that, we have developed what we call the Business Development Committee. The Business Development Committee is there solely focused on us becoming a self-sufficient organization. Like many, if we look at the shock situation, not many groups around here own a piece of land. I think Colors Junkanoo Group may be the only group that own a piece of land. We got to change that narrative.
Yeah.
We got to start working together, having some joint ventures as groups so we
Yeah.
could raise some money so we could get our own piece of land.
Piece of the rock.
Get our own steel building where we could erect so we ain't got to get run from one place to the next.
Yeah.
We got to take these
Permanent
branding more
home.
seriously. You get the Saxons logo, you get the Ace of Spades, you got the Genesis Warhawks, Roots, Lion, Pride. All of us have brands. These brands could go far beyond what we're doing
Yep.
just for a street parade.
Yep.
I would have commissioned the artwork for the shirts for Boxing Day and New Year's. And I posted that on my status. And because I have a carnival background, many of my clients was asking me, how can they purchase a shirt? Now, we didn't have the infrastructure in place and active. The infrastructure is there, but it's not actively up to date where we could have put those shirts online in time to get those sold at the time. But that is something that I'm looking at to say, revamp and get readily available. So we have a proper system in place.
It shows you that there is
where
a
you can-
market for it.
There's a market.
Yeah.
So,
Plus, I
'cause-
think-
A big
A
market.
big
too.
market.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone in Atlanta can tell me, I love that design, I want 2 of them shades, that's an eye opener.
yeah.
You know what's crazy for me? You know, as a Junkanoo, whichever you want to call me, you finish the last sentence if you want to. But I like to wear my Junkanoo stuff when I travel. And,
Oh, straight
and,
show.
and the response that people give you with our Junkanoo design shirts, period. I mean, they like, where you get a shirt from? What kind of shirt is that? What is that on the shirt? There's so many questions come along with it. It's how we do things differently from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And Junkanoo shirts are just different.
They're just different.
And they're even more
pops.
different now because we get now the 3D ones with the
right.
go straight round. So
sublimation,
sky's
yeah.
the limit.
And sometimes when I travel to Junkanoo shit, it'd be like people approach it be like, I was to Junkanoo before. I was
Yeah.
to NASA,
Yeah,
I was to
yeah.
Junkanoo, you know.
Yeah, I know that group.
You
Yeah.
all you all about boss, you so far from home and people just buck and say, I did Junkanoo in the Bahamas before.
Listen,
You know what I mean?
just like you, I like to travel far places with my paraphernalia.
Oh yeah, I used to carry them to give away. I used to carry my chain and paraphernalia to give away. Especially when I stayed in hotels, I used to leave it for the maid or the concierge, and I get man. It's just like you say, branding is everything, right?
Right.
But with Genesis being, hey, like a lot of people say, Genesis is the underdog. This upcoming season, I don't think much people can look at Genesis as an underdog no more because of all the pieces that are being injected into this organization right now. You know what I mean?
I really wouldn't have called Genesis an underdog.
No, I wouldn't have called him, but the fact that most people, because they are one of the newer groups, they put them as an underdog.
But they didn't spike up everybody.
Yeah, you spike up everybody, but people still, yeah, you gotta understand us as behemoths.
If they win the overall
If you ain't
prize,
consistent and say 3, 4 parade, you ain't get like 1 first, 1 second, 1 first, 1 second. They still consider you as an underdog.
Right.
Me as a
Even
Junkanoo,
though we as a Junkanoo know.
they spike up every Junkanoo group in one way or the other already.
Yeah,
That's the
but-
bottom line. They either
but-
beat them outright
Nah,
or they beat them in the category.
I talking about from fans' perspective.
I understand that.
You see what I
But
said
from
a
my
fan's
perspective, these fellas, they reach.
You know?
Ain't no more
See,
underdog.
and the
And
question-
guess what? People can start treating you as such.
And the question I have is now, you have all these individuals and different personality coming into your organization. How do you manage that? Now you know, Junkanoos, and Junkanoos, we get plenty characters. You get plenty characters with plenty different personalities.
So I'll say this.
You know?
Genesis has a constitution that governs our organization.
Okay.
You have a constitution as well as bylaws.
Yeah.
So coming into the organization, one of the first things I did was I started to review my constitution to ensure that with the influx of persons coming in, it's still relevant.
Yeah.
Every constitution needs amendments over time.
Yeah.
Because the dynamics of the groups
Change.
change.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I got with my founders and started to do. Let's look at how we're going to revamp our constitution. Because as a new member, that's my Bible.
Yeah.
This is what I give you as the guideline as to what you need to be doing in this organization. So you have the structure or you have some sort of structure where you were. Here's our structure. Here's how we govern this organization. Here's how we reprimand persons when they get out of line. You see, we have a people's committee. Our people's committee is like our HR. They step in when we have conflicts. So we use the people's committee for conflict resolution to try and reach out and touch and we have psychiatrists, guidance counselors that sit on the people's committee to help with different issues. Some people choose not to go to the people's committee, but it's in there, it's in place.
Yeah.
So in terms of how do we manage and keep people in line, we have the infrastructure in place to do so. And outside of that, we have the People's Committee that steps in to help us resolve issues. And it's as simple as that.
That's excellent. That's all I can say to that.
Yeah.
That's like, wow.
Thinking forward, boss.
Yeah.
Forward thinking and not to hit you guys, but that's an advantage for you guys. That the newer groups have an opportunity to lay their foundation and structure it how they foresee it to be, and then they can look at the other organizations and see where they fall down and make sure they don't put themselves in the same predicament or fall in the same trap as the other organizations had in, or whatever problems or issues they had in the past. And I commend you for that, Mr. Chairman. The more I learn about Genesis, more and more intriguing it becomes to me. I can be really, really honest. Right now, I'm on a year contract with my boy, my good friend. I gotta call it how it is. It's a year contract. It's a yearly contract. We just renewed it the other day, so you know what it's up. Yeah, so.
You trying to see if you might get drafted in the next
No,
draft?
you don't draft. I'm not an active, I wouldn't call myself an active player anymore.
Yeah.
I call myself you got this big words of legacy.
Yeah.
And I consider myself to be more consultant.
A consultant now.
Yeah, a contributing consultant because I have something to offer.
Yeah.
But the 2 days you ain't gonna see me. You ain't gonna see me on no parade. You can see me downtown, but I ain't, no.
You ain't participating. You can see you participating with your camera, but
that's the extent of my. I will assist with anything, and not this year now, because I have the contract.
Yeah.
I have the contract. Next year I'm open. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
it's not a draft situation. It's just a situation where if you need some consultancy, I'm available.
You're available.
That's all. All right. So that's just for next year, not this year.
Not this year. That's next year.
No, okay.
So at the current.
I'm one of the folks who love Junkanoo. Somebody said the other day, you always think about Junkanoo all the time, but I'm one of them. I think with Junkanoo all the time, how we can make Junkanoo better, how we can make it more efficient, how we can make money for individuals in Junkanoo. How can we turn Junkanoo into the best festival in the world? Somebody asked, well, why would you want to be the best festival in the world? You want to be the best in what you do? I won't be the best.
Well, let's not be the best.
Why not?
So that's why I always say I want to be the best festival in the world. How can we now turn the page of where we are at for Junkanoo? This is 2025, and we're making baby incremental steps in progress in navigating this thing called life. Where do you see Junkanoo in the next 5, 10 years? Not Genesis now. Junkanoo as a whole.
I think we all have to, I think we now have to sit at the round table and have a real discussion. Let's look at what it costs. We all face the realities of what it costs to put a parade on the road. I know what it costs my organization. So 2 parades, you're talking a parade in funding, you need somewhere around $300,000 to $500,000 as an A group.
Per group?
Per group. And that is just in funding to get your group to the road.
And that ain't personal money.
That ain't personal investment.
Yeah, no.
That may sound weird to you, but think about it like this. Imagine a brass section. If you have a brass of 100 persons, that's $100,000 in instruments. Right there, that's just for brass. So let's start talking about backline. Cowbells now costing close to $500 a pair of bells.
Actually, I was just going to say that the cowbells are just, and that comes right back to the point that we have small number of craftsmen manufacturing bells.
Exactly.
Yeah, supply and demand.
It's supply and demand.
We don't have
The
enough.
demand is high in.
Right. So think about it like this. We don't have enough cows around here to hand on these drums. That means the skins being important. Imported.
Important skins.
So we're importing skins.
So goat skin is only for the rhythm drums now.
That's
we
it.
don't use that for bass
That's
anymore.
And I find, see, and a lot of things we realize we move away from that was so good for Junkanoo. Goat skin. See, and I tell you that's why the music changed in Junkanoo. Let me get to this. Back in the day, you only had goat skin drums, right? Everybody beat lead, bass, everything was goat skin. You had when back in the day, the music used to basically travel. It used to be like a ton of travel. You know why the music used to be like a ton of travel? when the goat skin go down, it give you a bubble. So it give you that boom. And that's why you get a thunderous sound like it's like an epic center. Today now you get cow skin that hardly bubble or buffalo that hardly bubble.
no give.
It just go boom. It give you a deep boom, but it don't give you that boom like how the goat used to do. So when it's the goat go down, time is those reach the Russell Square, that goat right where you need it to be.
Right.
So it give you that boom, boom, boom. So you had that epic center bass back in the day that travel. So that's why people be like, I don't feel Junkanoo on my chest like I used to feel it. Because that you get a different vibration from back in the day.
I got you.
You see? So then when the people used to put the sterno used to help keep the skin up that it don't go too flat, but it still used to go down.
Right.
You see what I saying? And that has changed the dynamic of the music in Junkanoo.
Right. And then and the goat skin drum. Look at the back lines. How much groups actually have a good goaty line? Everybody beating thumb down.
Maybe you
See,
guys.
and that's why you missing a second.
A second.
You missing the second. That goat skin really scared a second.
Right. So
You missing a second, boss.
So-
you only get bass and treble.
Right.
No second, no mids.
So where that pingy sounds come from in the drum and hit it too much, like ping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what most
much
bass drums sound like now. And that's why I tell you now
Yeah.
that goat skin drum used to be superior for that same thing. You know, you had the ping when you start, but times you get down in the parade route, you then beat that down to the temperature and basically the
vibration.
and that's why Junkanoo back in the day is so dangerous because that traveling, they had that traveling bass. We don't have that traveling bass no more, boy. It don't feel the same.
no.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
Mr. Chairman, I know you say Genesis is have election every 3 years. What you looking to achieve in your 3-year term?
In my 3-year term, I'm looking to establish a Genesis headquarters where we can have our full operations operating from, as well as sustain our own organization. I tired of going out there and begging.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I need to create opportunities for my group members, as well as the brand, so we can self-sustain ourselves.
Yeah.
I will be able to say to a sponsor, here's a token of my appreciation. So they could see a return on investment
Yeah.
in my organization. And I think once we could start to do that, people won't have an issue sponsoring us. Because for many sponsors, Junkanoo is just like throwing money down a rabbit hole.
Bull roll. Remember that conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you imagine how the other side feels when you keep coming to me, oh, we need X, Y, Z, we need this, we need that, we need the next thing. But
So I won't let the cat out of the bag, but watch that website. Because think about what you could do for a sponsor through your website.
do so much.
You could do so much. Just to give them a little bit of incentive for investing into your organization.
Not only that, whenever their anniversary comes up, whenever they have a special occasion, whenever they have a special, your people show up and give them a performance or whatever they need, some backing, support them whenever they have a social event.
Correct. But it's so much bigger than just a little rush. We're talking about the orange economy here.
Yeah.
Every group should have a website.
Yep.
I remember when I was coming up, you had those forums where everybody would be Junkanoo Talks it, Junkanoo Beat, Junkanoo Beat, and all these different sites where we just used to gather and have our own Junkanoo route, right? So the sites was there. Now there are no sites today that have the history of Junkanoo. So when I was in school, you could have see Roots, Valley Boys, Saxons, all the history for all the groups. But it was hard to maintain. You know, people over time stopped maintaining the sites. So the history is lost. Where can you go and find out the history of the Saxons in the Valley in one family?
Well, thank God.
Online.
Thank God. I was going to say, not online, but thank God for Manny Francis, who who wrote a book.
Right.
And I want to get people to be afraid of creating content. Or creating or documenting the history, because history is really your history, his
Right.
story. That's really what history
And
is.
that's what I said. Nobody can tell your story.
Right.
But
so,
you.
Right.
So Saxon, so Buller's brother produced a book called Introduction to Building a Three-Piece Costume.
Right.
And this is an actual book you could purchase. And this is his creation.
And I think it's on Amazon as well.
It is on Amazon.
But here's the thing though. If I am a student of the school doing some paper, how do I get the history?
You're absolutely right.
So we have a problem in this country.
We
But
do.
we
always have we always have a problem documenting our story.
right.
Yeah.
But that's
It's not just Junkanoo.
no. But we could change that because we know
No,
better.
we have to change it.
We know better.
We
So
have to
do
change
better.
it. We have to change it.
So this is what I'm saying. Every group needs to take the initiative to get their information out there to the people.
Yeah.
You see now, we have a legacy group now where two people telling two different stories of what is the history of an organization, but it ain't documented. Because one saying I have this documented, and the next saying I have that documented, and I used to true this, not you. But it ain't. If we took the initiative years ago to put it down on paper, and get it digitally, no one could debate that.
Yeah.
It ain't even in the libraries.
Yeah.
The most you find in the library is articles from newspapers.
Yeah.
And written by reporters who don't know nothing about the
Exactly.
situation they're writing about.
But if I would know the story, I used to love waking with certain individuals just so I could hear the stories of growing up with Gus Cooper and Doc and Peter Gold and all these different stuff. That's what excited me
Yeah.
about Junkanoo and learning the history of where we come from. When we started carving and when we started using aluminum rods. But history ain't nowhere.
Yeah.
And as Junkanoo was fading into the sunset, the history continues to get lost. Because we still ain't documented it like we should.
Most of the people who have the history is dying out.
They dying out.
And you ain't get their side,
Exactly.
you know?
I'd like to put this out there. I'd like to employ everybody but listen to the sound of this show or listen to the sound of the voice. In 2025, we have the easiest, most simplest way to document anything you want as opposed to any other time in our life. Simplest time. You just pull out your phone.
You know why? AI. You only gotta talk.
Yeah.
Tell AI what you want happen.
You could, but no,
And it could produce your whole document.
not only that, you could actually just talk and just produce your own
One thing, yeah, you just talk.
without the use of
You-
AI.
You could record, and
Yeah.
if you don't like to write, you could find somebody to write for you. You record.
Now
and
that goes back to AI. You could just talk and AI will write it for you.
My point exactly.
Grammatically, spelling,
Spelling,
you have
everything.
deficiencies in any part. See,
But it's on us to take our own history serious and
Yeah.
document it. I remember one time I saw the documentary by, I think, Stephen the fellow who did the statues by the roundabouts. Never knew who did those. Until I
The
saw them.
crawfishing thing.
And until that time.
the dragon was never being seen outside.
Right.
It's a BPL or
Right.
BEC property.
Right.
Yeah.
But you gotta document the history. The human history is one of those things that we sort of drop the ball on when it comes to documenting.
It's like a folklore. You just word of mouth more so
Right.
than actual physical.
Right. So we.
I think
See-
you just gave me
see,
a
I-
mandate for something
Right.
to do. Because I mean, I was at the pivot point now in my career with taking photographs. I mean, I like 20 years now. What's next?
How much people actually have one of those books from Auntie Molly?
How many people actually have them on the books from Marley and Nash Ferguson?
That was one of the first things I
Because I mean, we could actually count in two hands how many
Right.
actual Junkanoo books are out there.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Period.
But we don't push Junkanoos ourselves.
Junkanoos. I always tell people, ain't much Junkanoos to support Junkanoos.
No.
Plain and simple, man. Can't beat around the bush.
No.
You can't beat around the bush. You got to tell it like it is, boss.
Well, I know. how it is.
Junkanoos,
Exactly.
Junkanoos like you to do things, but they ain't like to pay for things.
They just like things.
They just like things.
But
You see what I said? And you got to understand, boss, you got to spend some money in order to make some money. You know? In order to enhance your intellectual judgment capacity, you need to buy things. Because my wife stay buying books, but everywhere you go, sometimes I just sit down there and just pick up a book. There's so much books that I read, I just be down and be like, I think I might tackle this one, I might tackle that one. So every time we travel, I check a book in my buy. You know what I mean?
But you know, it's the interesting thing though, and like I was saying with technology, it doesn't even have to be a book.
No?
It could be
Video.
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 It could be audio.
Video, audio, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Arlene Nash always used to say, the richest place on this island and in the world is the graveyard.
God,
'Cause nobody. I wouldn't say nobody. Most people don't document their story except
And they go to the
except for
grave.
what somebody who don't even know you or hardly know you write about you
True.
inside your obituary.
Yep.
And 90% of the obituary is just people who know you, knew you, or family members. I printed them for a lifetime. Maybe I say doing it for a living most of my life, so I know.
See, and just like the show we had the other day, talking about the Valley Boys, right? And I told my story, you know?
Which is very well received.
Exactly, and the amount of calls and messages I get from telling my story, right? And people just be like, boy, I really know it's like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, they was glad I told the story, you know, so it's give them a little insight and you know what I mean? So if everybody was to tell their story, you could imagine the information we would have on Junkanoo.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, like you say, it can't write, and a lot of people don't like read audio books. Audio books. But I said, when I drive, I have an audio book playing in my truck. Sometimes I listen to music, but most time I listen to some audio book, you know. And you could get through a book much faster listening to it than actually reading it.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you comprehend it better listening than reading. You see what I'm saying? So all these things we need now, the judgment, to take advantage of, like Papa say, that's the easiest time in technology to do these things. There's so much things available right now to do that. That's crazy. But Coops, I appreciate you coming to the show to share with us on coming things for Genesis. And man, that's as you can remember, Jay, that's a slate of the executive team, the Genesis, for some of the people who don't know. You know,
Okay.
before we leave.
Okay, so I'm the chairman, Theo Cooper. Deputy chairman is Dwight Marshall.
Okay.
We've now anointed Sean as chairman emeritus.
Okay.
So he's back in the fold and a part of the executive team.
Yes.
We have Krishna Roll, who is the director of the Business Development Committee.
Okay.
We have Nicole King, who's still our legal counsel.
Okay.
And then our various committees. Corey Cartwright would be the brass director. We have Cody Dean, who is now our backline director,
Okay.
which oversees all of our section heads,
Okay.
bellas, drummers, etc., etc.
So, okay.
We have Paige Adams, who's the director of the choreograph team. We have William Sanders, which is the People's Committee,
Okay.
who's also a health instructor. So
Okay.
we're going to be doing some different things there with our People's Committee.
Okay.
We have Damian Thompson, Tommy, who's in charge of the front line. I think I've captured it. We're also trying to restructure our youth development wing, which is our teen arts program.
Okay.
So there it is.
Yeah. I knew what I had on the previous show, the secretary, Tanya
Tanya Sampson, who's the
Sampson.
secretary.
And,
Sorry, and Miss the Pie.
and the
My
pies.
Angelique McKay. She is our PR marketing director.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. So you're all firing on all
Yeah, man,
cylinders
we got a
right
strong
now,
team,
man.
boy.
Team platinum now, boss.
House of Assembly again, and all
That
that.
explains why the last few weeks has just been Warhawk,
Warhawk.
every day,
That's
all day.
Walk up
Yeah.
yourself, boy.
We love it. We love it.
Walk up
You
yourself.
know? But I congratulations here on your post as the chairman of Genesis Warhawks. I know you do great things. I know you do great in organization. Coming in from a certain background, you don't have no other choice. You know what I mean? But to do what is right. You know what I mean? So we applaud your stance and what's not. And And I'd like to thank you again for appearing here on JNN.
Appreciate it
You know
anytime.
what I mean? And hopefully, like I say, I hope you all do major things in the upcoming parade and within the community itself.
Indeed.
The Genesis Warhawks. I was hoping my boy Carlos Bain would come to y'all, you know. Because Carlos Bain behind me for a couple of years, say, man, give me a lap
boy.
with Genesis.
Are you in the shop right now?
Yeah, Carlos, all this is come talk, but give me a lap. You know what I mean? So, big up my boy Carlos being there, you know. Stay in the fold. Because I always used to text him and say, boss, you got to do one more for Gus. That was our inside joke. You got to do one more for Gus. You know, that's a inside joke. He said, for Gus? Boss, you need to come do one more for us. You know what I mean? So, big up Carlos, you know what I mean? But like I say, it's a pleasure having you on board. Anything you got before we go, Papa?
I was going to give the floor to our guest and ask him if he'd like to close out with any particular words or
Yeah,
any
man.
inspirational thoughts for
So
his
anything.
members or the public at large.
Okay.
For my members, it's go time.
Okay.
These parades is ours.
Yeah, okay. I'm the current boss.
These parades is ours. But bigger than that is the message, which is Junkanoo groups. I employ every Junkanoo group to use their groups to do something in their communities so we can sort of bring some healing to this country.
Yeah.
Use the tool. Junkanoo is a tool.
Yeah.
Use it as a catalyst to help your communities to get through the crisis that they're faced with today. I think if each one of us could start to do that, starting today,
Yeah.
you'd see a change in this country.
Powerful,
Right,
boss.
I
And
think
I believe that. I believe that.
Accept that.
You know what I mean? So anyway, it's been another exciting, informative episode of Double Rock. Thing called This Is Yours Truly Top Class. Brought to you today by our producer, Mr. Silas. My co-host today,
Paparazzi.
our guest today.
Theo Cooper?
And we just brought you another exciting edition of Double Rock, boys. We here to rock you essential. We out, my boy. Out here.
Nedlet Productions.